His extraordinary manhood got a 70-years-old woman pregnant. In a quiet village where secrets slept beneath the surface, one man's body carried a power no one could explain, a power that would shake an entire community, test the laws of nature, and awaken something forgotten in a woman who is 70 years old. You heard that right. His extraordinary manhood got a 70-year-old woman pregnant. But how? Why? And at what cost? If you think this is just a tale about lust, you're wrong. This is a tale of shame, mystery, revenge, and destiny. So before we dive in, do me one small favor. Click the subscribe button, share this story, and invite someone into the world of Tales by Amah, where every story leaves an unforgettable memory, lesson, or a miracle. Now, let's find out how it all started. They said no man ever looked like him. Not in Igbokwe. Not in the next village. Not even in the city. Tall like a palm tree. Dark like fresh, rain-soaked earth. And his eyes, they didn't blink often. They just stared, as if they saw something deeper inside you. His name was Chika, and he came to the village with nothing but a small bag, a machete, and a strange calm. The women whispered. The men grew restless. The elders watched from behind cola-stained lips. But Chika didn't say much. He took a job clearing an overgrown farm on the edge of the village, near the house of Mama Adiz, the old woman no one really visited anymore. She was 70. Some said 75. She used to be beautiful, once. Before time, sorrow, and loneliness carved deep rivers in her skin. But from the very first day Chika passed her gate, she started to come outside again. And that was how it all began. Mama Adiz hadn't spoken to a man in years. Her husband had died in his 50s. Her only child never returned from the city. She had stopped bathing daily, stopped combing her hair, until Chika came. He never greeted her with words, just a nod. But that nod melted something frozen in her. She began to sweep her compound again. She wore earrings. And on the third day, she cooked yam porridge for two. She didn't invite him, but when he walked past, he stopped, looked at the plate, looked at her. Then he picked it up and ate silently under the mango tree. That night, Mama Adiz wept. Not from sadness. From a kind of hunger she thought she buried with her youth. By the second week, people started to talk. She's possessed, some said. Maybe he's using jazz, others whispered. But no one dared confront Chika. He didn't talk much, but his silence felt like thunder. What truly terrified the villagers, though, was how Mama Adiz began to look younger. Her wrinkles softened. She walked faster. She smiled more. Some said she looked fertile again. The girls mocked her in the market, laughing behind her back. But Mama Adiz didn't care. She only watched Chika now. And at night, she dreamed of things a 70-year-old woman wasn't supposed to. It happened on the 14th night. There was a heavy rain. No moon. Just thunder. Chika had not returned from the farm. Mama Adiz lit a lantern and waited. When he finally came, soaked and silent, she opened her gate. He didn't speak. She didn't speak. But she let him into her room. And that night, something unspeakable happened. No magic. No chance. Just two lonely bodies finding something they didn't know they still needed. But by morning, the world would begin to spin off its axis. 3 weeks later, she fainted at the stream. The village girls screamed. When the herbalist checked her pulse and belly, he stepped back slowly, eyes wide, hands shaking. He whispered, She's pregnant." The silence that followed was louder than thunder. The oldest woman in the village said it was impossible. The priest said it was evil. But Mama Adiz only sat quietly, her wrinkled hands on her stomach, whispering, "I feel life inside me." 3 days after the news spread, the council of elders gathered beneath the Irako tree. Uver, the eldest among them, spoke first. "In my 84 years, I have never seen this kind of abomination." Another added, "What kind of man carries seed so strong it awakens a dead womb?" The priest was summoned. He fasted for 2 days before speaking. "This is not a man. This is a sign." A meeting was held. They wanted Chika banished. But no one had the courage to face him. Mama Adiz, on the other hand, stood at the gate of her compound each evening, belly slowly rising, as if daring anyone to ask her to explain. That night, Chica had a dream. He stood in a burning field, and a woman with a white cloth around her waist walked through the flames, holding a baby that glowed like the sun. "The child is not yours," she said, "but your body was chosen." He woke up in sweat. He heard Mama Adiz weeping softly in the next room. Without knowing why, he went to her door, and for the first time, he spoke more than one sentence. "Something ancient is happening," he whispered. "Something bigger than me." She looked at him, her eyes hollow with fear. "Then why does it feel like a curse?" On the 40th day of her pregnancy, Mama Adiz bled. Not like a miscarriage, no pain, no cries. Just one single drop onto a white stone in front of her doorstep. By dawn, the stone had turned red and stayed red. No one could clean it. Children stopped playing near her home. A foul bird perched on her roof and refused to leave. And a strange chill filled the air whenever Chica passed by. The villagers now whispered one word: curse. But the baby inside her still kicked. Strong. Alive. Demanding to be born. On the 55th day, a stranger arrived in the village. A woman in all white. No dust on her feet. No shadow. She asked for Chica. And when she found him, she knelt. "You are the vessel," she said, "but not the father." Chica didn't understand. "That child in the womb," she continued, "is the return of something ancient, something our people buried generations ago." Chica asked, "Why Mama Adiz?" The woman smiled sadly. "Because her womb was empty long enough to be used again." Then she vanished. Just like that. The priest declared a final test. If the child in Mama Adiz's womb was truly from the gods, or a demon in disguise, fire and bone would reveal it. A sacred fire was lit in the village square. A bone from a sacred goat was placed beside it. Mama Adiz was asked to stand before both, with her belly bare. As she stepped forward, the fire roared, then calmed. The bone glowed, then cracked softly, like something waking up. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the crowd, and every chicken in the village began to scream. The priest dropped his staff. "It's not a curse," he said in fear. "It's a return." On the 70th day of her pregnancy, the sky over Igbokwe turned dark at noon. Not with clouds. Not with rain. Just thick, unnatural darkness. Children ran home. Drums stopped. Birds vanished. Mama Adiz sat in her compound, calm. Chica stood by the gate, unblinking, as if he was waiting for something. Then the wind whispered a name, one not spoken in the village for hundreds of years. Ezemisive. Only the oldest of elders remembered it. A forgotten deity. Cast out. Erased from stories. Now returning through the womb of an old woman. The baby came early. No midwife helped. Only Chica was there, holding Mama Adiz's hand as she screamed, not in pain but in release. When the child emerged, the air changed. A baby girl, with silver eyes, and a birthmark shaped like a crescent moon on her chest. She didn't cry. She opened her eyes and stared at the world. The fire from the old test reignited itself in the village square that night. And everyone knew, she is the marked child. The village could no longer deny what had happened. The girl was not just a child. She began to walk at 1 week old. At 2 weeks, she spoke her first word, Ezemizu. Mama Adiz loved her like her own soul. But the child didn't laugh. She watched. She listened. And sometimes, she disappeared for hours without being seen. Chica knew what it meant. She didn't come to be loved. She came to wake something buried. The priest began to fear. The elders began to pray. But it was already too late. One night, Mama Adiz had a vision. 3 ancestors, her grandmother, her mother, and a woman she didn't recognize, stood at her bedside. "She is not your burden," they told her. "But you are her bridge." She cried and asked, "Why me?" "Because you knew emptiness long enough to make space for divinity." When she woke, the child stood beside her bed. "They're coming," she said. Mama Adiz asked. Who? The child blinked. The ones who sealed me away the first time. The village demanded that Chika leave. They feared what he brought. They feared what he allowed. But before he left, he knelt by the child. I wasn't your father, but I was chosen. I hope I did not fail. She touched his forehead. You were a door. Chika vanished into the forest that night. No one saw him again. But whenever the wind blew through the village, it sounded like his footsteps still guarding her from far away. At 3 months, the child stopped speaking for 7 days. On the 8th, she stood at the center of the village square and pointed to the moon. You buried me in silence. But now I will speak thunder. The ground trembled. The sky split open. And from the heavens, a glowing figure descended. Half woman, half light, eyes like stars. She bowed to the child. I return to serve you. From that night on, no one doubted who the child was. She was not born. She had returned. On her 100th day, the child collapsed. Mama Adiz wept, thinking she had died. But the priest came and knelt. She's not dying. She's becoming. Her body lit up, and from her skin, a second child emerged, this one made of pure light. The villagers fled, but Mama Adiz stayed. She held both beings, flesh and light, in her arms, as a mother does. You may scare them, she whispered, but you are mine. One night, Mama Adiz stopped breathing. There was no pain, no fear, just a soft smile on her lips. The child sat beside her for hours, unmoving. Then she whispered, Sleep, Mama. Your duty is done. She closed the old woman's eyes and never spoke again. From that day, the child walked the village like a shadow, watching, listening, waiting. Where Mama Adiz was buried, a tree grew overnight. Its leaves glowed in the dark. Its roots whispered. The villagers built a shrine there. They called it Yulo Eneni Ezemizu, the house of the mother of the returned one. Women who had lost children came there and conceived. Sick men touched the bark and were healed. The child was never seen again, but her presence was everywhere. They never spoke of Chika again, or how a 70-year-old woman birthed something the world had long forgotten. But they knew this. Sometimes life chooses strange vessels. Sometimes the barren becomes the birthplace of miracles. And sometimes what the world calls impossible is just waiting for the right womb. So when you hear the wind whisper at night, or see a woman too old to carry hope still smiling with her hands on her belly, ask yourself, what is she carrying?